growing up, there's a time in my life when I felt I didn't want to do anything with my dad. But thankfully, at one point, when he came to know the Lord, after many years, there was transformation that happened with him, and he made it a point that he reconciled the family back. And by the time he went with the Lord, we were back, and we were loving the kind of man he had become. And so to a point that we really miss the father, the man he had become towards us, especially the many years of not feeling him, to a point when he went with the Lord, but that's a time when he had begun to enjoy his presence. You could have a man you could go to and talk to. I was born in Uganda, in a place called Mengo, but my family shifted and went to a place called Masoli. That's where my home is now. That's where my mom is. My dad went to be with the Lord a few years ago, but before he went to be with the Lord, that is where we had shifted as a family.
What was home life like for you? Did you have brothers and sisters? Or?
Yes, I have brothers and sisters. Grew up in a polygamous family, but at one point of our lives, we did not grow up with a very, very present father. He was a good man until when life happened with him, and he chose not to be so present at home. He used to drink a lot. He used to fight my mom. Growing up, there's a time in my life when I felt I didn't want to do anything with my dad. But thankfully, at one point, when he came to know the Lord, after many years, there was transformation that happened with him, and he made it a point that he reconciled the family back. And by the time he went with the Lord, we were back, and we were loving the kind of man he had become. And so to a point that we really miss the father, the man he had become towards us, especially the many years of not feeling him, to a point when he went to be with the Lord, but that's a time when he had begun to enjoy his presence. You could have a man you could go to and talk to. Yeah. So many things happened in my life that might have attributed to the fact that I didn't have someone to speak to. Even when they were there, I looked at them in the lenses of the man that I grew up with. So that's a little bit about me.
What was sort of teenage life for you? Were you always a good Christian lad, or have you gone on a journey yourself in discovering who Jesus is?
I would say that I gave my life to Christ when I was still young. I didn't know what I was doing. But in my teenage years, because of lack of orientation, I made quite a number of mistakes because of the groups that I was involved with. But then God brought me back into direction, and I recommitted my life to Jesus. And from there, I've been walking with Christ. But even in my adulthood, even when I had grown up and now I'd accepted Christ myself, there are moments of life that weren't that godly that I did as a man. That when I walk back, I regret. I've shared some of these even in some of the books and spaces where I've had an opportunity to share. Yeah, but it's always a journey. Christianity is a journey that I advise people never to walk alone. Men, in most cases, we love doing this journey by ourselves. And in most cases, whenever you do it by yourself, you are isolated and you give the devil an opportunity to attack you. But when you have a band of brothers around you, fellow Christian men, you think the same way, you have the same idea, they help to orient you where you're losing it, and you help them in the same way. It's like a symbiotic relationship. And yes, me, there's a point when I didn't have those, yeah, and end up maybe making some grave mistakes in my life. Yeah.
I'm going to talk a bit about the charities or the organisations that you and your partner, your wife, have birthed. But one thing you said to me before was that there's purpose in pain, and that's a really interesting phrase. And a lot of things that you're involved in now,
Yeah.
have come from pain, and now you're seeing the purpose in them. How did the charity working with the girls and the mums come about? What's the journey there?
Yeah, I'm blessed to be married to a wonderful woman called Annabelle Nakavidi, whom I love so much, and with her, God has blessed us with 3 children. The 4th is not with her, so I have 4 children. So what happens that I want to put this together. So Annabelle grew up in a Muslim background, and at 13 years she was going to be handed over to a Muslim clergy into marriage, who had also 3 other wives. So she was going to be a 4th wife for this guy. 13 is pretty much a young age, tender age to marry off a girl. In her family, she knew that so many of her siblings, stepsisters, had been married off in the same way. They were married off young, and she had seen how life is hard for them. But also before being married off, growing up in that kind of environment, she was sexually abused by her stepbrother. And she grew up with this hatred for men. She didn't want to see anything to do called men. So now a man who is her father brings another man to take her and marry her off at 13 years when she's still barely a young girl. Ran away from home, went to the streets. At that time, she was in care of her siblings because her mom had left. She had run away for her life from an abusive marriage. So life was a little bit hard for her to stay in that marriage, and she left my wife, then who was a sister to the big sister, in the care of these people. Now she's also running away and leaving them behind. Long story short, she goes on the street. She saw first time and seeing what is happening on the street. It's always not that good. I can say streets are streets everywhere, but the streets in Kampala are not the streets of London. Yeah. So when God helped her to reconnect with the mother had bitterness over her because she left her siblings back. And her mother, when she went to check on them, she was told that my wife ran away because she was pregnant. But actually she ran away because they were marrying her off. And my wife was mad at her mother, asking her, why didn't you stay? Why did you leave us alone? All these years. So painfully, they swallowed their pain and chose to reunite and go for a prison break to go and release the 4 kids that were left in that space because they are also being mistreated. So they began a journey of pain as a family, doing all sorts of hard labor to sustain the family. And long story short, my wife now, like she wanted, she's the first in their family. She was the first in the family to graduate with a degree. She got a degree in accounting and finance. She was the first in her family to marry a husband of her choice. She's the first in her family to board an airplane, to fly and go out of the country. She has seen all her siblings through school. All of them are now married with very good husbands and families. And 2 of them are location pastors of different churches. These are girls and boys who are Muslims. But the one person that gave her life to Christ on the night she was going to commit suicide because she was tired with life became the remnant of their family that turned around lives. So when we got married, I told my wife, your story isn't a story to bury. My pastor, my lead pastor in the church I'm part of, called Worship Harvest, is called Apostle Moses Mukisa, whom I love so much. He wrote a book, and in the book he mentioned and said, never waste crisis, because at the end of every crisis, there is an opportunity. So every pain brings us close to our purpose, and God does not waste it. He doesn't want us to waste it. It is a raw material for purpose. So I told my wife, and 10 years back, we began an organization called the Remnant Generation. We use the word remnant because if you had a piece of fabric that you wanted to make a shirt like this one I'm putting on, all the other pieces cut off. In most cases, people look at them as useless. But what God does, He gathers all those pieces that everyone else has rejected, that sees they're not as useful, puts them together, repurposes them, and gives them true meaning. So that is what we are doing with the girls. We work with survivors of sexual abuse and teenage pregnancies and sex trafficking. And God has helped us to work with girls who have been raped, involved in incest, cases of incest, at 11, 12, 13, babies getting pregnant, children giving birth to children. But we don't believe in abortion. All life is precious, regardless of how it's conceived. We walk a journey with these girls and make sure they carry their babies to terms. We skill them, we invest in their flourishing and showing them that there is hope at the end of the tunnel. Out of that ministry, we've managed to work with more than 6,712 girls who have walked through our spaces. We have shelters where we take care of them. Others work with them in the communities. We are in 5 districts of the country. We are blessed to be that we are at least a #1 go-to organization now when it comes to issues of crisis pregnancy. But through this, we've seen people walking when they don't know Christ. They walk back with Christ. We've seen girls that have walked in broken come out as agents of change to other girls. We even have staff whom we are glad to say that they were the girls that came in, and now they are part of our staff, and they are also serving other girls. Actually, some of these girls that are staff have taken on other girls that they are supporting as a result of them going through what we have taken them through in our organization.
You've talked, the investment you make in these girls isn't just a day, a week, it's a long-term investment in their rehabilitation into family, retraining, education, looking after their newborn children. Like it's a huge amount of care.
Yes, so we want to, there is surviving and thriving. We are not really raising up girls who are going to end up in survival mode, because they may end up going back into the same cycle of why they were abused. We are investing into their thriving. Thriving meaning they are able to stand back on their feet. Those that are dropped out of school, Uganda had a policy when a girl gets pregnant when she's in school, she's automatically discontinued from school. But we thank God that we were able to inform policy, and Parliament enacted a policy that allows the girls, when they have given birth, they are allowed to come back to school. They're even thinking of having teen mother-friendly spaces where at least girls who are pregnant have where to place their babies. They can nurse them, a space where it is possible to, but for now, what we're doing at Remnant Generation, the girls that we've taken back to school, we have an ECD, early childhood development space, where they leave their kids. Someone is there to take care of them, probably feed them, and when they come back from school, they're able to have their kids. But also we have a skills training space. We are now on a journey of setting up building medical centers. Why we're doing the medical centers? Because we have medical staff, medical people on staff, and looking at the mindset of having a sustainable organization, it would be good to have a space where we know there is some income coming in to sustain some of the programs of the organization, but also the same spaces helping our girls. So we are trusting God to set up a chain of medical spaces based on the districts that we are in, so that our staff who are medical people are working in there serving our girls, and the people that need service from the community pay a fee to access the space to help sustain it, but also to help us have a sustainable module of an organization. And so we have a farm where we grow food that comes back in so we try to put up things to reduce on our budget, and make sure that we are able to serve as many girls as God brings in our way.
Have you got a story that comes to mind? Obviously, if you need to change a name,
Yeah.
of a girl who's travelled through this process?
Oh yes, I will. I believe the girl I'm about to share her name. Because her video is out, so I'll share her name. Okay. She has a video out there. So I'll talk about Robina. Robina grew up with her mother. She didn't see her father because her father was absent. So because her father was absent, she was staying with her mother. She became a teen. When she became a teen, she had a boyfriend. The boyfriend requested that they sleep together, and she did. After a while, because they were so much in love, probably at that age. Robina was doing her Form 6. I think she had done her Form 6. And so when they had a good time with the boyfriend, she gets pregnant. Her mother rejects her and tells her, "You cannot give birth in my house at this age. It's an abomination. It's what I have to take you to the traditional herbalists. They have to do certain things." I don't know what it was. So Robina was just out of the house. She goes to the boyfriend. The boyfriend rejected her. He said, "Me, I don't know anything to do with you. Go and abort the child." Because she didn't know what to do next, Robina went and began staying on the streets of Kampala, where she was for about three months. But during the 3 months, she had an opportunity to get, she called it an opportunity. A bar in town, along the street where she was, gives her an opportunity to work in the bar so that she can have something to eat, because she was going hungry, she was all malnourished, she's pregnant, and she's on the street. The cold is on her it was really a bad situation. So she began working in the bar, and the bar attendant says, "Okay, now, system here, you cannot serve alcohol alone. You serve alcohol and serve your body." So she had to serve two things at a time, and she's a pregnant lady. So at that time, she's beginning to be tired of her own self, and she's building up something in her that making her to hate life to the drop. So around that time, someone tells her there is a church called Miracle Center Cathedral, which was having a revival service overnight, and it was ongoing for 77 days. So she thought this would be a good place to go. So she left the place she was working from, went and stayed at that church for all those days. She didn't go to the church for prayers. She went to get a space where there are many people. Probably she could find a place for shelter. There was a bus. This specific pastor had shipped in these kind of London buses, double-decked. They were the first double-decked buses in Uganda. So he shipped in quite a number of them, maybe around 8 into the country. By then, they were not working anymore because they had issues and they will not be repaired. So she saw an opportunity to go and hide there as a place like shelter. At this time, she's about 4 months, and she has never gone for antenatal. She has never gone for any medical check, and the baby is growing in her womb. Very hungry, she stayed at that church for all those days. Then one of those days, there is a man-made lake that is near that church. So she said, I think this is the day I need to go and end my life. And that day, fateful day, she goes to end her life. And as people observed her approaching the water, they realized this girl was going to do something wrong to herself. So men came and grabbed her, and they asked her why she was doing what she was doing. She was taken back to the church, and that church, a friend of ours who felt she's from there, got to know about the story, and they tell us about it. And our social workers swing in action to go and save the situation. Bring Robina in, very suicidal. We had to put every sharp object away from her for all those days. We kept her in a special room on surveillance 24/7. All she needed at that time is to kill herself and the baby in her womb. She hated the baby in the womb, she hated herself, she hated her mother, she hated everyone and anything to do with life. So she ends up in our space, and over time God gave us the grace. Robina began to change in perspective, the way she was thinking. We introduced her to God, the idea that all the transformation she needed had to come from Christ, and Robina gave her life to Christ. We began a journey with him, and she carried her baby to term. Along the way, we invited her mother to be around when she's going to deliver. And the mother didn't seem interested in that, because she feels that this child is going to be a curse to the family. So Robina is one of those girls we've stayed with the longest. We chose to keep her and help her to become the person she wants to become. She learned all the skills we trained, and she became so good at them. She's very enterprising. We were so surprised at the person she was. We asked her one of those days, what do you want to do? She says, I want to go back to school. We thank God that through some of the friends we spoke with, she was able to go back to school, finished her university degree in supply management and procurement, and came for an interview in the organization. And as I speak right now, Robina is heading one of the programs in one of our offices in the districts out of Kampala, and she's doing so well. She's working with over 1,000 girls. So she's actually giving them the support. And when she's speaking to them, she tells them, you know what, I was like you, and this is where I am. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. Don't give up with your life. I wanted to destroy my own life. I didn't know how far it is. Today, Danny, his son, is doing so well. He's in school. Danny is now 6 years of age, and he's amazing, coming out as a very good guy. Robina is taking care and paying for school fees for 3 other girls. So she's a big sister and a mother to other girls who are going through the same situation she walked through. So we are blessed to say that lives of people like Robina are some of the lives that we are proud and keep us going every day when I wake up in the morning. we ask God, what more can we do?
Why do you do what you do, you and your wife? Is it because you're good people, or is there a deeper reason why you're doing what you're doing?
First of all, my wife, being that she was a victim, she was going to be one of those girls that would end up in that might have even ended up pregnant or something like that. But also she was abused when she was young. My coming on board was to be the wind below her wings to support a vision that I believe would cause transformation. That's one. Two, the numbers of such girls are alarming and growing every day. You know very well the pro-choice movements are being highly funded by different people to push certain agendas into countries, and with things like abortion, name it, so many stuff, gender issues, they're everywhere. And people are scared of stepping out to do certain things because probably of the so many attacks that would come from different directions. But we've committed and given our lives to do everything in our powers as God gives us the grace to reach out to as many people as we can. Like now, we even rolled out into doing working with men, working with Remnant Generation gave birth to Fathers Arise, which and now I'm fully so much into as my wife works with the girls and the boys. But we work in tandem. We actually, even the offices are in the same building. So we share notes. Where Remnant Generation goes, we go. Where we are going, they come here with them. So we make sure that the boys and the men, the women, the boys, the girls and the boys, the women and the men, they're all being served in the same spaces that we do operate from. Yeah, so basically, that is, if I would ask me the why, that would be the why. Yeah, we call ourselves a family on mission, and the vision of our family is to leave this world better than we found it. Yeah. Knowing my story, like I shared with you, and my wife's story, sorry, and also my story, still, you can tell there is something we can do better about today. We may not be able to change yesterday, but yesterday it was cold, today I can see some good sun up here. I can't change the cold of yesterday, but I can leverage on the sun of today and make tomorrow better. So yeah, God has given us the graces, the opportunities. I'm here in UK, and where I'm in UK is to meet people like you, to make the voice out there louder, and say there is more we can do. People are out there, they're looking for places they can go to. I mean, come to Africa, come to Uganda, come see what we are doing. You can be a doctor, you have something you can do. It's not an issue of how much money you can give, but it's how much work you can put in. There is something everyone can give based on where God has positioned them. So, yeah, that is who we are.
Yeah. And we've not even touched on student work. You're a pastor.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I'm actually a pastor. Yeah, I'm a pastor, a location pastor of Worship Harvest. I'm not just a pastor, but I'm also a church planter. So I planted the church in 2021, and 4 years later, I've planted four more churches out of grown-up leaders whom I've released to go and plant more churches. So yeah, I love preaching the gospel. Much of my work, whenever I go, everywhere I go and step, people think I just need to take over the microphone. So I've been in UK, and I don't think there is a Sunday that I've spent when I am not standing before people. So I believe there is a thing in me of not sitting. We shall rest when we go to heaven. Yeah. Yeah.